The president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, has said that he will not stop the flow of thousands of migrants through his country as they try to enter the European Union. In an exclusive interview with the BBC, President Lukashenko admitted that his armed forces may actually be helping migrants cross the heavily guarded border into Poland.
It's not often you get the chance to meet the man who's been labelled Europe's last dictator. The West says Alexander Lukashenko is using migrants as a political weapon. We confronted him with claims his troops have been cutting border fences to help migrants into the EU.
Our guys are helping the migrants get into Polish territory. It's perfectly possible. I think that's absolutely possible. Maybe somebody helped them. I won't even look into this.
Now, the UK government says it will designate all of Hamas as a terrorist organisation. Supporters of the group could face up to 14 years in jail. The Home Secretary Priti Patel announced that move in Washington, D.C. on Friday. Patel was forced to resign, you may remember, as Britain's International Development Secretary in 2017 after holding secret meetings with senior Israeli officials. Hamas says the decision is biased towards Israel.
But what we do know is that the British government is now prepared to take a firm and uncompromising stance on Hamas. In 2001, its military wing was designated a illegal terrorist organisation, and the decision now is to expand that even further, covering all of Hamas's various divisions and entities. What Priti Patel is saying is that she can't disaggregate between the political and the military, and that this decision is being based upon new intelligence about Hamas's capabilities, possibly to inflict harm on Israel and others.
Protesters marched across the Brooklyn Bridge on Friday and other cities across America as Kyle Rittenhouse was found not guilty for a fatal shooting at a racial justice protest last year.
Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty.
The 18-year-old Rittenhouse broke down sobbing earlier on Friday as he was acquitted of all charges related to the shooting, including 2 counts of homicide and 1 count of attempted homicide for wounding a third man. The shooting took place last August in the midst of civil unrest after police shot and paralyzed a black man named Jacob Blake. Blake's uncle Justin condemned the Rittenhouse verdict outside the Wisconsin courtroom on Friday and demanded Jacob's case be reopened.
She's China's most successful tennis stars, a former doubles world #1, winning the French Open and Wimbledon. But she hasn't been seen in weeks. Pang has taken to social media to accuse the top Chinese government official of sexually assaulting her. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the US wants verifiable proof from China that the player is okay. The United Nations also wants answers and has insisted on a fully transparent investigation into Pang's account of what happened to her. Tennis players including Serena Williams and Novak Djokovic, the world's top men's player, have also voiced their support for the Chinese athlete.
Ugandan police announced Thursday they have shot dead 5 suspects and arrested 21 others as part of the investigation into a recent double suicide attack claimed by the Islamic State. The police raids come after the explosion on Tuesday, in which at least 4 civilians were killed when suicide bomber detonated the explosives at 2 locations in Kampala. One attack happened near the parliamentary building and the second near a busy police station. The attack sparked chaos and confusion in the city, as well as outpouring of concern from international community. Among those killed is a Ugandan Muslim cleric who is accused of having ties to the extremist group responsible for Tuesday's suicide bombing in the capital.
Rioting broke out in the Dutch city of Rotterdam as hundreds protested against new COVID-19 restrictions. Some heaved objects at police. In response, authorities used water cannons and charged their vehicles into protesters. Dutch police fired warning shots and injured several people, though none of the injuries were life-threatening. Video on social media showed burnt-out police cars and fire crews putting out flames. Crowds were angry at authorities planning to introduce a new law. It restricts access to bars, restaurants, and sports matches to those who have a pass to prove they've been vaccinated, have recovered from an infection, or tested negative for the coronavirus. The Netherlands reimposed some lockdown measures last weekend for an initial 3 weeks to slow an upswing of COVID-19 infections. The country recorded over 20,000 new daily cases for several days in a row this week, a record high since last December.
Protesters rallied on Friday outside the Miss South Africa offices in Johannesburg to call on the current title holder to boycott the upcoming Miss Universe contest. Members of various political parties and Palestine solidarity organizations were demonstrating against the pageant, which is set to be held in Israel in December.
River to the sea. From the river to the sea. We have made a clarion call to Lalela to boycott Miss Universe because it has been held in an apartheid state.
Yesterday, Pakistan made headlines around the world for a new law. With crimes against women on the rise in the country, Pakistan had approved a bill on chemical castration. But less than 24 hours later, Islamabad backtracked on that move. Pakistan removed a clause from the new criminal law that had allowed chemical castration as a possible punishment for serial rapists. The decision was taken after the Islamic Ideology Council found chemical castration un-Islamic, a council that interprets laws from an Islamic perspective.